No way he just said that! Joel Bauman, who defeated Reese Forrest with an incredible TKO in their middleweight match recently, got a bit too comfortable thanks to that victory rush, and made a shocking revelation about his herpes outbreak that has made him go viral. Stay with us as we tell you all about the gross confession, plus other related news in the bizarre world of MMA. First up, Joel Bauman's shocking post-match confession. Adrenaline really is a strange thing, and will make you do stranger things. Take Joel Bauman, for example, and is the most talked about fighter currently, but it isn't for anything he did during the MMA bout. Not at all. No McGregor has trash talk or a classic Khabib finisher. Instead, it's for a very unusual post-victory interview. Joel Bauman and his herpes are making waves in the world of MMA, thanks to his post-victory interview where he got a bit carried away in that rush and ended up quite frankly discussing his struggle with not one, but two herpes outbreaks. Bauman also talked about how it had affected his previous game with the American fighter Josh Fremd. The loss against Fremd had clearly been irking Bauman for a while, since the UFC president Dana White himself was present at the event. It might have been very costly and must have hurt Bauman's big fighter ego. Fortunately for Fremd though, his victory over Bauman on that February evening got him a UFC contract. Bauman made sure he spoke about that sad, cold February evening loss, even in this cozy summer victory. "Last night I was tired. I was exhausted," Bauman said. "I'm about to launch this NFT that's gonna change the fight game, and I put in 30 all-nighters before that fight. I had herpes before that fight. 2 outbreaks in the span of a week. I'm here, I'm healthy, let's go. Whatever, it doesn't matter." Perhaps it's the way he speaks about his deeply personal health challenges, or the disease itself that's associated with a taboo. And no public figure has ever come out and admitted to having an STD before. Whatever the reason, more than 945,000 people have viewed the 16-second interview clip, and millions are talking about it. Next, more about Bauman's simplex herpes. You'd think a fighter's only worry in the ring is beating the pulp out of his opponent and perfecting his form. Unfortunately, there's a lot more that goes into it, including gross diseases. Not many of you may have heard this illness, but there's actually quite a few of them that a fighter can easily contract if not careful enough. Although staph is the most commonly known illness in combat sports, there's another viral skin infection that lurks in the gym throughout the world, the disgusting herpes gladiatorium, caused by the simplex virus. You've probably never heard of it before, but the disease is actually more common among fighters than you think, and has even got names like wrestler's pox or mat pox, which has yet again emerged in the limelight after Joel Bauman admitted to have contracted it. Is it contagious? How does one contract it? Can it put an end to the fighter's promising career? There's hundreds of such questions that you as a fighter are probably wondering, and unfortunately, Joel Bauman had to live this reality. About the herpes. Yes, it's a highly prevalent and contagious skin disease. Herpes simplex usually occurs in an outbreak when a large number of team members or gym mates contract the virus at the same time. So, can fighters contract it by fighting? Unlike the regular sexually transmitted herpes, this one doesn't require a sexual contact between two people, or fighters in this case, just enough physical contact during the bout. The most common way of transmission is the direct contact with an infected fighter, or indirect contact with a contaminated surface such as a dirty gym mat or training equipment, which explains why the disease is so widespread among MMA fighters. You don't even want to know what it looks like. So, a trigger warning: clusters of fluid-filled lesions or blisters show up on the head, face, neck, chest, torso, and arms or legs, all of which come into close contact during grappling. The rash can be mild or severe, and it's often associated with severe itching, headaches, fever, and a sore throat. The symptoms typically last 7 to 10 days. A person who has been infected is always a carrier and may be exposed to more future outbreaks. And to make it worse, this virus can be transferred by a carrier at any time, but is more likely while the blisters are present. COVID doesn't sound all that bad anymore, does it? Although the disease sounds like a pain, the treatment is not really a hassle. Before you decide to go for antibiotics, in case of infection, they're usually not used in the treatment of viral infection, unless you can't keep your filthy hands off of it and infect it. More than medicines though, a fighter needs to be very careful about the kind of equipment and people he's surrounded by. With appropriate clean staff, a fighter and his gym mates can continue to enjoy rolling on the mat and grappling each other. But keep in mind, mat hygiene, skin inspection, and the restriction of fighters with skin lesions from training and or fighting are important. Heck, we'd say even if you aren't a pro fighter, you might want to keep sanitizing your equipment and other stuff at the gym that comes in contact with people. You never know who's been hiding what kind of germs in those hands. Now in other news, Bauman gets owned by Shaq. Multiple herpes outbreaks may not have been fun for Joel Bauman, but the NFL veterans Spice Adams, Nichelle Turner, and Shaquille O'Neal are having a ball with the extra information. As soon as Adams began discussing Joel Bauman's herpes problem in a recent podcast, they all began to balk at it. Adams questioned Bauman in a hilarious way, wondering how can he claim to have had like 30 all-nighters and then say he had herpes outbreaks in the same breath, to which Nichelle mentioned it was twice, and Spice Adams completely lost it, questioning the whole thing. As a person, this is really too much information. Adam was shocked that Bauman publicly claimed to have experienced 2 outbreaks in a week. Shaq asked him if it meant not wanting to fight him anymore as a fighter. Turner added his 2 cents of misinformation, claiming herpes is a sexually transmitted disease and can't spread through fighting, but Shaq hilariously kept repeating he had 30 all-nighters. Damn, this is a funny conversation, but unfortunately downplayed a serious disease that's quite common among fighters. We're still shocked that Spice Adams didn't know of it, or was he just dragging the poor guy for the sake of some bants? It better be the latter. Donald Cowboy Cerrone returned to the octagon. Will have to wait. Joel Bauman isn't the only one anyone who has been battling with diseases of late. The 39-year-old veteran Donald Cerrone too had to pull out of his recent bout due to food poisoning. The veteran was set to fight Joe Bauman in a lightweight contest at UFC 274 recently, after a one-year layoff. But Cerrone had been withdrawn from the fight just hours before due to food poisoning. Apparently, the cowboy felt amazing after successfully making the weight, and was doing okay when he went to bed the night before after eating dinner. But the following morning was another story, as he felt seriously ill and was removed from the fight after being assessed by UFC doctors. The star had been in high spirits during the fight week and was visibly moved while speaking about the opportunity to compete in front of his two sons and a large crowd after so long. Cerrone even went on to claim that beating Bauman would be the highlight of his already impressive career. Soon after, his opponent Bauman took to Instagram to express his shock and admiration for his fellow veteran fighter. In a post, he claimed that he was upset about the bout not going through, but completely understood that Cerrone must have done everything he could to make it happen. While the UFC has yet to announce Cerrone's next move, he has stated that he'd be a part of 2 more fights before calling it a career. Let's hope they make the big fight happen soon. Giga Chikadze versus Korean Zombie on the cards? Speaking of big fights, did you hear about Giga challenging the Korean Zombie for a bout? That's right. For his next appearance in the octagon, UFC featherweight Giga Chikadze wants to fight Chung Seung-jung, aka the Korean Zombie. Chikadze is coming off his first loss to Calvin Kattar and the UFC since January. Before the recent loss, Giga had been on a roll in the UFC featherweight class. He went on a 7-fight winning streak after his debut victory over Brandon Davis in September of 2019, which included impressive finishes over the likes of Cub Swanson and Edson Barboza. The Georgian fighter now wants to reclaim the featherweight title, and he has his sights set on the most recent title challenger, Jung. The Korean Zombie suffered a lopsided loss against Alexander Volkanovski in his second professional UFC title fight earlier this year at UFC 273. And just hours after his loss, the Korean Zombie sounded unsure about his fighting future. If the Chikadze versus Jung fight goes through, both will have an opportunity to earn another big game victory, and the winner can earn at the very least a #1 contender fight. Do you want to see the Korean Zombie take on Chikadze? Minus the herpes, of course. Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. See you in the next one!